So I joined the business a year and a half now. Feels more like 10 years, but yeah, all good. So just a quick overview on our point of sale solution, right? And probably worth giving you guys a bit of background as well. So we started selling our first point of sale, our first POS terminal back in 2019, April of 2019. So obviously it's been 2.5 years. And the reason why I included a quick overview is to just give you guys an overview as to where we are from obviously selling our first point of sale machine in April. 2.5 years we have sold over 4,700 terminals. Now that's broken down and spread across the UK, Malta, Ireland, Denmark, Germany, and the Netherlands as well. So obviously, COVID hit last year and then also impacted this year. So despite COVID and despite, obviously all the issues that we have in card present payments, we have actually done quite well for ourselves. I mean, sold close to 5,000 live terminals, over these last 2.5 years. I think, it's a job really well done. And, hats off to, Craig, Matt, Paul, and the rest of you guys, who have contributed towards this. So the purpose of this session is more to focus on a castle solution, right? So you guys, anyways, have an overview and you guys understand the PAX A920 solution. So this session is to speak about the castle solution. So here, so just in terms of a setup, so it's obviously Trust Payments as the acquirer, unlike with the PAX solution where it was 6 Worldline as the acquirer. So for the castle solution, it's Trust Payments as the acquirer. It's AV, who's the point of sale gateway provider. So we use AV's payment technology and their POS gateway. OmniPay as the processor, and then it's the castle hardware that we are speaking about here. So it's Trust Payments as the acquirer, AV as the gateway partner, OmniPay as the processor, and it's 3 range of castle terminals that we have with this line.
Sorry, Russ, I'll just go on. Russ, just go back one look. So where it's got the OmniPay POS processor, think that's Trust Payments, guys. All right, it sits on there. Okay, so just think that's the Trust Pay. That's the bank that's on there. Yeah, but just for clarity. But sorry, Russ, go for it.
Yeah. And that's a good point actually, Paul, because I mean, from a merchant standpoint, he doesn't really see what's happening in the background, right? Because I mean, all they see is Trust Payments, because we collect the funds and then settle that to the merchant. So I mean, all the merchant would see is our branding on the terminal and all the communication directly between Trust and the merchant.
So exactly that on that one, you got the 2 in the middle. Just ignore that's for your information, but the merchant doesn't need to know that, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
It's seamless for them. Okay.
And then just a quick overview as to where our terminals are deployed. So most of the terminals, 63% of our terminals in Malta, obviously a big footprint in the UK, and then the rest are distributed between Denmark, Germany, Netherlands, and Ireland. In terms of our current target verticals, or where we have actually sold these point of sale devices so far. So obviously you'll see we have a big footprint in the hotel and the hospitality vertical. So that's MCC 7011. So over 29% of our terminals happen to be with merchants in the hotel, motel, that space. We have a fairly decent merchant base in the money remittance space. So that's money transfers and your money exchange, F&B, food and beverages, and also groceries. So these 5 MCC codes account to around 75% of our merchant book. So very good presence in the hotel vertical, F&B space, and then also grocery stores. So that was just to have an understanding of where our 4,700 odd terminals, where they have been deployed, focusing on which MCC codes. In terms of the hardware, obviously, I mentioned it's three different devices that we have. So on the extreme left, that's the Vega 3000C. So C standing for countertop. So that's the fixed terminal solution. And then obviously we have a mobile solution and then a countertop solution, which can be used in conjunction with a pin pad. So obviously a countertop solution more relevant, let's say, for maybe like a retail store or a hotel check-in or anywhere basically where there needed to be a fixed internet cable. Obviously the mobile devices, they run also on SIM cards. So they support both Wi-Fi and GPRS. So more suited, I would say, for the restaurant and the F&B space. And then the Vega 3000 P, which is the pin pad solution, which works only with the countertop. That's more relevant, I would say, for the retail kind of setup. Because if you see in many high street retailers in the UK, what you tend to see is that the pin pad is facing the customers, while as the actual terminal is facing the staff behind the till. So that's the combo unit that we sell as well. So the countertop, the mobile, and the combo unit, which is nothing but the countertop used connected with a cable to the pin pad solution. Do we have any questions with regards to the hardware or any of the bits so far? Sound like all good? Yes. Yes, sorry. Lee?
You're off mute now. Why do we choose castles over, say, Ingenico, people like that?
That's a good question. So that's a very good question, and obviously one which is quite hard for me to. So the rationale, between choosing the castles over, like the Ingenico or the Verifone devices, is what's happening is that Ingenico and Verifone are both becoming, they're moving from just selling hardware to also doing the full acquiring side of things as well. So the point being is that very soon they'll also become a direct competitor of trust payments. When they'll have a monopoly in the market. So I think the rationale which was used a good three years plus back was to not go with the Ingenico solution, but to use a castles when they don't directly compete with the trust payments acquiring. And I think one more thing is, so the castle solution, when we selected it, when we also selected the point of sale gateway partner, the gateway partner, they just supported only the castle solution back then. So that was one of the honest reasons as to why we select castles over Ingenico or the Verifone devices.
Plus, we'd won the gas line tender, and the biggest part of the tender was offering a POS solution. And we won the tender, and we hadn't even got a POS solution. We hadn't even got a POS out there. So we needed to be quick, right? We need to be quick. And very much what Russ said there, we needed somebody to provide the devices, but more importantly, it was picking AV as our kind of partner that would do an integration into the OmniPay platform, which you showed you there, the trust payments bit, but also it's not going to be a competitor and would act quickly. So we soon hooked up with them when we did the tender response and we did the presentations, and it's very much we gave them this partnership been going on for ages and years, but actually we'd only just got together. So that was one of the reasons. Ingenico is coming down the line, guys, and I'm hoping later Russ will give you a bit of an idea of the other products that we're going to bring along as well. All right. Does that answer the question?
It does. Thank you.
Cool.
Sounds good. And then obviously, this question is always going to come up, from merchants as to, I mean, why do we choose a castles over the Ingenico? So I mean, it segues well into the slide. So one of the things of the castle solution, unlike the Ingenico, it's got the touch screen. And I think one of the key selling points for us is a MyST reporting tool, which I don't think we actually bang on as much as we should do, because I mean, from working with similar point of sale companies like Trust in the past, what I've seen is that many of them don't really have a reporting tool for their merchants, a real-time reporting tool. So I think the power of MyST is actually quite strong. One of the other things is obviously now we have 24/7 support, which is good, especially when you're dealing with merchants, let's say in the nightclub space, bars, and so on and so forth. Obviously, like we saw there, we have loads of merchants in the hospitality space, and one of the things with hospitality is the functionality on the point of sale is actually not the most straightforward as sale, refund, and void, which is more relevant, let's say, for a retail setup. But for your hotels, you obviously need pre-authorization and pre-auth completion, tips, and so on and so forth, all of which we support. So all in all, the solution that we have, the Castle solution, although it might not look the best in terms of the way that the hardware looks, but I mean in terms of the functionality, it's actually very feature rich. And the next day settlement as well, I think is a big one that we do, which some of the legacy players don't currently support. So the ones which are highlighted in bold, are the ones which I think from scanning the market are the ones that we should we can use in argument with the merchant as to why do we sell Castles over the Ingenico and things like that, because obviously Ingenico and Verifone have a very strong brand presence in terms of their brand name in the market. Unlike the Castles, but I mean, obviously, it's touchscreen, and then all the other stuff that comes along with it.
I think we'll be having sessions later on about Apple Pay, Google Pay, dynamic currency conversion, which again you might find in the market. Maybe one provider has DCC, but they don't have Apple Pay, Google Pay, and vice versa. You might have a provider that has the wallets but not DCC. You guys are going to have access to all of this on these machines, so all under one roof. So I think once you have those sessions, that'll help kind of bolster the argument for the Castles unit as well.
And as if by magic, there they are. Look at that.
Yeah, and yeah, so exactly, what Craig said, right? So if you look in, on the right hand side, the transaction types that we support and also the schemes. So obviously Visa, Mastercard, Amex, Maestro, VPay, Apple Pay, Google Pay, Samsung Pay. Obviously sale, refund, void, motor transaction. So a manual entry on the card machine. So obviously if a customer calls in and he wants to buy something over the phone, that's something that we support as well. Obviously tips, and then some of the more complex transaction types, more relevant for the hospitality vertical. So that's your pre-authorization, which is nothing but like taking a booking. So let's say you call into a hotel, they take your card number and they pre-auth a booking, let's say for £100, and then we also have the option of increasing that pre-authorization from 100 to 150, and then completing that as well. And then obviously DCC, like Craig mentioned, that's a strong selling point as well. So that's what we that's an overview of the transaction types and the features that are offered on the Castle solution. And then just a quick slide on DCC, and I'm sure Seamus or someone else is probably going to speak slightly more on the DCC side of things. But on the point of sale side, what we have done is by default, we have enabled DCC for all merchants or for all new merchants from the start of this year, with the exception of 3 MCC codes. Now, these 3 MCC codes are merchants which play in the FX space, in money remittance and things like that. So we haven't enabled them by default, just because it's just easier doing things like that. But I mean, by default for all merchants apart from these 3 MCC codes, DCC is enabled as default. I think DCC is a very strong selling point because there's a vested interest for both the merchant and also for trust payments, right? So we use Fexco, which is an Irish company, to provide DCC on the card terminals. So what you have in here is the recommended commercials that we typically tend to use. So obviously Fexco they take 1.35% of the transaction. Trust payments, we keep 1% of the transaction. Trust payments we keep 1.15, and then the merchant they keep 1%, right? So the total fee of DCC for a merchant. So if there's a US customer and they're paying in the UK, and if he's using his US card and he chooses to pay in dollars as opposed to pounds, the customer will be paying 3.50, and then obviously trust payments keep a share a share of that commission, and so does the merchant. So obviously there's a vested interest to try and push DCC, because not only is trust making commission, it's also the merchant which is getting the commission on DCC. On target markets, so the way we have designed the point of sale solution and the functionality that it supports is we try to actually have we try to have a mass appeal. So we haven't targeted our solution just for retail or just for the F&B space, but it's a more holistic solution when it's relevant for from hotels, restaurants, retail, pharmacies, so on and so forth. But obviously, there are some verticals where we don't currently play in. So obviously, that's your petrol pump vertical, where they have the unattended terminals. So that's something that we're looking to support as well. And that's what you'll see when we move further down onto the roadmap slides. And then obviously, for airlines, we don't support that currently because we don't do the offline PIN transactions. But everyone else, our Castle solution is something that we could offer them. So I think that's a good selling point, because many acquirers out there, the transactions that they support is relevant only for retail, but it's not necessarily relevant for hotels, and then obviously that's a problem, right? So that's that's just one thing to keep in mind. Any questions so far?
The merchant will get 1%. How would they get that back? Is it commission? Do they get it deducted off the fees?
It's a rebate once a month. So what happens? The merchant will get a summary sent to them through our finance team, and it will break down the transactions that were eligible for DCC. Now, I actually think, and Muriel, you might be able to correct me or guide me a bit better here, but I think there's a bit of work that's going to be undertaken that's going to give merchants more insights as to what they're missing out from DCC and what they could have had if they'd have enabled it and whatnot. But for those who do have it enabled, it's once a month they get a rebate, I think normally around the middle of the month. And they'll get a sheet that summarizes what that rebate is made up of. But what's very interesting is if you think a non-European transaction, let's say it costs 2.5% to process, great, they're going to get 1% back, fantastic, it reduces their costs. But if you've got a European card going through DCC, bearing in mind a lot of the time they're on the same rates as a domestic transaction, so let's say it's maybe between 0.5% or 1% for that payment, you're actually going to be giving them money to process those payments, those European cards, if it's not going through GBP. So yeah, it's very, very, very cool kind of service that we offer, and no cost to the merchant, no pain for the merchant at all.
And I've just last Friday jumped on my first monthly call with Fexco. One of the things we're trying to push is getting the information of which of our merchants are using it or not using it, but also trying to put some incentives in there, so some kind of quick wins of how we can build. Our volume is really poor on DCC, and that's even in Malta where you think it's a bit higher. So we're going to come up with some initiatives of pushing the merchants, but also giving you kind of some tools again of selling it. But then once it's been sold, you're trying to push more business that way. Okay.
Quick question for the room, actually, for all the sales guys. When you guys are updating your pricing schedule in Salesforce, there's a DCC field. Do you guys currently put anything in there, or do you leave it blank currently at the moment?
Blank,
yeah. I didn't get that. Sorry, I'll take that. Was that it?
blank.
Okay, cool. Okay, so what we probably need to do, this Paul, for you and me, is probably just get to a point where we help the guys have all the tools to know how to input DCC, because by not having a field in there, the terminals might not be going out with it enabled. It might be an operational thing.
because it's got by default. As soon as you click on it, it's there. It's nothing. It's not from a configuration. It's very, very simple on the terminal itself.
Yeah, so we'll take that away. Make sure that we get that sorted.
Yep.
Cool.
All right, and then just moving on, right? So obviously we have a point of sale solution which works in standalone mode and also in a semi-integrated mode. So the key difference between a standalone solution is a solution wherein, let's say, you buy a coffee from from a Starbucks, and someone manually has to actually key in the amount on the card machine. So that's a standalone terminal. And a semi-integrated solution is wherein the point of sale terminal, it speaks to the till system. So let's say you walk into a coffee shop, you order a cappuccino, the person hits one cappuccino on the till system, that automatically sends the amount onto the card machine. So that's what we support as well. So we support both a standalone solution and we support a semi-integrated solution as well. So you guys might have heard about TrueLink. So what is TrueLink? Without going into like the complex architectural side of things, TrueLink is nothing but a link which enables the software on the till system to speak to our card machines. So when the person enters one cappuccino or one beer on the till system, that will automatically send the amount on the card machine. Now, to facilitate that integration from the till system to TrueLink, that's something that needs to be done on the that's something that needs to be done from the till system provider's end. So on this next slide, these are the list of integrations that we currently have, which are compatible with our Castle solution. So some of them are not relevant to the UK market. So FutureSense is this till system which I put an image out here, and if you look closer, that's the Castle card machine, and that's connected to the till system from FutureSense. Now, FutureSense is an EPOS provider, more relevant in the hotel space, where they do self check-in and self checkout and all of that cool stuff. So FutureSense is one, Guest Line is another. We recently completed an integration with Oracle. So any of the Oracle till systems in practice should be working with a Castle solution. Now, EPOS now is a very big name, which I'm sure you guys will come across a lot when the merchant has an EPOS now till system, and we obviously trying to sell them our card machine. EPOS now is an integration which is in the works, and hopefully which should be done, I want to say by the end of this month. So obviously, if there's any EPOS providers or any EPOS companies that you guys hear about where the merchant has a current EPOS system or a current till system, and we don't have that on that list, just feel free to send me an email with the name of the EPOS provider, and then we'll try and make contact with the EPOS provider and and get them hooked into TrueLink. So they would need to do some integration work from their end to TrueLink, and then from TrueLink that's already connected onto a card machine. So at a high level, TrueLink is simply an API which links in the software from the till system onto a card machine. Yeah.
Does everybody get that?
Yeah.
That's a big step for us, the semi-integrated. All right, going from a standalone to semi-integrated, and allows us to be.
Russell, would it be useful for the guys to prepare like a most commonly asked for list? Like the top 5 maybe of the ones that they get requested most commonly, and then you guys can start going after them.
For sure, yeah. Like for example, EPOS now was one of them where I think it was Tim or probably Matt Jackson, where you mentioned that a lot of the merchants that we're speaking to, they happen to have an EPOS now till system, and this is something that you'll see especially in the UK and in London, when most of the pubs and the small chains, all of them have an EPOS now till system. So I mean, if there's a specific name which keeps coming up again and again, please make a note of that, and then share that name of that EPOS provider with us, and then we'll make contact with them and ask them to start the integration work. I think one more point on this semi-integrated solution. So obviously for the longest time you had everyone just simply taking payments in a standalone mode when they were manually punching in the amount, but now you'll see even your small merchants, your small to medium sized merchants also have an integrated solution. So it's a big step up for Trust Payments, because we started in a standalone mode. Now obviously we have a few partners working with us in a semi-integrated mode. So yeah, Craig, if there's any name that comes up, feel free to make a list and share that across. Cool. Just one last bit on the semi-integrated side. So obviously we spoke about this. What's the value to the merchant? So obviously instead of them having to manually key in the amount on the terminal all the time, they simply select the product from their till system, and then that sends the amount. And this actually helps the merchants a lot, because if you've ever worked in a bar or in a restaurant, if at the end of the day, when they do the end of the day, when they try and balance the books, if they have miskeyed the wrong amount on the card machine, and if it doesn't really tally with what's taken in the till system, that creates a full hassle, and then the person has to manually try and reconcile and see where he actually made a problem. But obviously here, since it's all in an integrated mode, this issue on reconciliation didn't really come up. So that's a big value add to the merchant, because it saves them a lot of time on reconciliation. And then obviously instead of taking £21 from the merchant from the customer, they don't incorrectly type in £12, right? Because then obviously that's lost revenue for the merchant. So that's something that we can advise merchants as well. And from that list of EPOS providers that we have, if there's a merchant which wants a card machine and also an EPOS solution, we can recommend them any of these EPOS systems as well.
Russell,
go on.
I just have a question. How do we onboard these, and what's the easiest way, or which one is the easiest to onboard?
So you mean to onboard the merchant or onboard the EPOS provider?
The EPOS provider.
Yes. So the way to onboard them is basically if there's a specific EPOS provider whose name has come up a lot, if you share those details with me, and then me and the rest of the guys, we can be in touch with the EPOS provider. Because the thing is that with these EPOS providers, it's not as simple as it sounds, because they would need to do some integration work to our API in order for our card machine to be speaking to them. So if there's any EPOS provider who you come across, just share with them those details, and then we have a simple process that we follow with these EPOS providers in order for them to be integrated with our TruLink API.
And about onboarding the merchants with the EPOS providers.
Yes, so the onboarding of the merchants with the EPOS provider. So what we are looking to get done is in the online MAF, and I believe even in Salesforce, there's going to be there's going to be an option where it says a standalone mode or in a semi-integrated mode. So if you choose semi-integrated, then there'll be a drop-down option which will come up, with all the list of EPOS providers that we have an integration with. You simply select the EPOS provider that the merchants is going with or already has an existing till system with, and then in the back end, the operations guys they do whatever is needed for the card machine to speak to the EPOS or the till system. So all of that is is going to be done in an automated way. So I mean, from your end, all you would need to do is simply select from the drop down. I know that the Salesforce team, are planning on adding this, I believe, to the MAF and then also to Salesforce, because currently the way it's done, and we have quite a few merchants using it in semi-integrated mode, but I mean, it's it's done quite manually currently, which is something that we're looking to change and trying to do it in an automated way.
Yeah, and what do we do until that's done? Sorry.
So until that's done, I would need to actually check with the operations guys. But I mean, if we can, have a name of that, maybe the terminal ID number or the mid of that specific merchant, we, someone can manually do the configuration and the setup so that it works with the till system. So I mean, until we have that automated process, I guess if we just have the name, just have the terminal ID number or the merchant name, then we should be able to manually set that up.
Yeah, thank you.
Great questions, Daniel. Great questions, Daniel.
Thank you.
A couple of minutes left, Russell, if that's okay, my friend.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. That was all, to be honest. So the last bits were on the pricing. So I'll share this deck so you'll be able to see the pricing. Now, obviously, this is the recommended pricing. It doesn't necessarily need to be the exact pricing that we choose for every merchant, but this is what we recommend. Obviously, there's different contract lengths: 12 months, 24 months, 36, and a 48-month option. So there's an option to either rent the terminals, wherein the merchant, they simply rent the terminals from us, or they can buy it upfront, and they can pay on the first invoice. They can pay for the hardware, and then going forward, depending on the contract length that they choose, they would just need to pay a small gateway fee. So there's both the options on a rental as well as buy upfront on the Castle solution. But I'll share this deck. So you can have a look at the recommended commercials, and then obviously if there's any questions, anything else that you have on the point of sale side, feel free to give me a call, or drop me a note on Teams or email, and I'll try and do my best to get back to you.
Just on the pricing, guys. Just the price. Look, those can look pretty high. We know that. Part of that's because of the partnership we got with AV and the Castles. If there's a big enough opportunity, we can always look to maybe manipulate, bring them down a little bit, because don't forget what we get. I can see their faces a bit more now. She was fast asleep. What we get is back to this one-stop shop. Those POS can go out. We make money on the acquiring side as well. All right, so we make money on the acquiring side. So there's always a balance. Yeah, it's not just looking at the pricing. We might be losing some money on the rentals on the POS. We can make that difference up on our discount rate. All right, they're still looking fairly interested and fairly awake. Right, cheers, Russ. There must be loads of questions.
One last thing on that, Russ. I understand. I seem to recall seeing fairly recently that you guys have put together almost like a step-by-step guide for identifying opportunities. So what things we should be looking for. That's what qualifies a business in or out for POS. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. So yeah, just this last bit, and then I promise I'll bounce. So this last slide. So this link is actually there on Tru Hub. Once I circulate the deck, you should be able to access this link. So we created a pre-sales guide, which basically shows us what are the sort of leading questions we should be asking the merchant. So obviously, if the merchant happens to be in the retail space, then obviously we would recommend them a certain kind of hardware, and like that there's quite a few questions that we have listed on there on Tru Hub. It's all there in this link under pre-sales guide, but once I share this deck, you guys should be able to access that link, and then have a look at the questions that we've added in there. And then obviously if there's any questions, feel free to send me a note.
Okay, cool. That secure trade in FS.
Yeah. Yeah. One last question. Can you confirm or deny that you're in the running for the next Bond film?
Sorry?
He's not denying it.
Yeah.
Right, thanks very much.
All right, guys. Cheers.
Well done, Rusty. What's the next one?
Okay, we've got a 11-minute break, and then we're back in for requiring. So, where you go?
25.